you ready? I'm Van.
I'm Sori.
That's
Harry. And Chip. You're just so upset about Lavi and Salty.
I am.
You're salty about it.
I should watch it there.
I figured out what Ben was saying.
Yeah, I said this is the apex of their career or something like that.
Apparently they have a new album or something that came out that's the apex or something like that. Wait, did I miss something?
The name of the album itself is called Apex.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
So he thought that I was
being smart, but
being smart, but it was just my subconscious.
Yeah, just subconsciously smart. Okay.
À Tout Le Monde.
Megadeth.
What is you're French? What does that mean? À Tout Le Monde.
My parents didn't speak French around me. My mom didn't speak French at all, but my father never spoke French around me, so I never learned French.
Somebody asked us in the channel if we're going to raise the kids in a have them be cognizant of their native heritage, because you've continuously claimed to be Native American.
I don't know anything about.
If we do that, if we do that ancestry thing,
yeah,
and it comes out that you've got a significant, genetic profile of Native American in your gene, I would definitely.
I'm going to do some research into which. I've heard it's Passamaquoddy and Penobscot, but I don't know. I need to do that ancestry thing for myself.
We would definitely, find some way to know.
Oh, I would be searching it out.
Native heritage, for sure.
For sure.
À Tout Le Monde. We haven't done Megadeth in quite some time.
Yep.
We've had Ghost, we were trying to cover, we were purposely trying to cover like the old school, like even before the metal.
It's funny because
Stones and...
I don't remember a whole lot of comments. Usually they're like a negative one. Actually, I don't even remember the negative ones anymore. There's one negative one that I remember where somebody called me a see you next Tuesday. But past that... I don't really remember any of the other ones. But somebody had said, they had asked, they were very nice about it, but they asked if we were ever going to review the old metal bands. This was before we started doing it. And they basically were saying, I understand, it's like a new thing. You guys are doing, the newer bands and stuff like that. But, there's some real classics. But I understand, you guys are young. They were just very, understanding.
Yeah.
But I sensed this sadness in their message where they were like, oh, you're missing something really good, and that they longed for us to do that. And now that we have listened to some of that stuff, sure. I'm like, oh my word, I know exactly what they were meaning. Yeah, the new stuff is good, but some of that old stuff is really, really good. It's almost a whole nother genre in my opinion. It's
like I said, listening to the Candlemass song. Being able to understand Black Sabbath helped me to see, okay, I see what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
It's Black Sabbath, but they've got a twist on it. So, yeah. So, it's kind of like in the timeline, I initially thought Megadeth was at the beginning of the timeline, but they're more of actually in the middle.
Honestly, if we would have known more about metal when I started this journey, it would have been cool to start from the beginning and progress forward.
Oh, for sure. I agree, for sure. Because then you be able to make those connections. And now I'm kind of backwardsly making those connections. I don't know if backwardsly is a word. Yep. But anyway, we haven't listened to Megadeth in quite some time. This is euthanasia. Well, no.
Oh, by the way, guys, I'm going to give you weekly updates as to how the baby is. So this week the baby is 1 inch. We're 9.5 weeks. The baby is 1 inch big, the size of a large raspberry. Has little short arms and legs. There's a heartbeat that's been going for a really long time. And
147.
Yeah. Yep. So the next it kind of switches to the next week for me on Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays you'll probably get your update what's going on. So.
All right. Let's do it. This is À Tout Le Monde. I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Go.
See if you recognize this song. Don't remember where I was. I realized life was a game. The more serious I took things, the harder the rules became. found out how little I accomplished all my plans tonight. So as you read this, no more friends. I'd love to stay with you all. Smiling, you think of me. My body's gone. Starlight, I know it would surely break, and my memories live with you. There's nothing more to say. Moving on, it's a simple thing. What I leave behind is on. You know the scene, you know the pain. I can let it once gone.
I like that. What?
Well, I mean, it's I mean, have you looked at the lyrics?
Well, yeah. When you got the translation up to everyone, to all my friends, I love you, I have to leave. Did this guy commit suicide?
Well, I mean, it's Dave Mustaine. He's still around. He's still
Oh,
with us.
okay. So, but it said that it started a controversy where people were saying that he was pro-suicide.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
It's a very interesting situation because I was talking to Damon Sage and he was talking to me about this particular genre of metal. Not this particular, but a particular genre of metal, and he was like, you know, you need to look at it. And I said, well, I need to think and pray about it. Because then everybody knows that there's one particular band that I've put the kibosh on and we're not going to review at all.
Yeah.
Because he has said that
Yeah, I completely.
he makes
yeah.
music so that people will destroy themselves.
Not good.
So I feel it's if a person comes out and says that is my intention.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple live shows with this guy, and there isn't that like camaraderie in the crowd. Like
Yeah.
when you saw here,
Yeah. You got the crowd, and they were smiling, because the crowd.
and they were singing about like I'm leaving, I'm gonna die, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. So, but it's different because sometimes singing about doing something to yourself with a group of other
Prevents you
people
from-
will prevent you from doing that because you look to the person next to you and you go, okay, this song has meaning for them because it has the same meaning for me, and maybe I'm not alone in the world. But when I look at the other band, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
He was talking about destroying the people listening to him, and they were just watching him to see him cut himself and do all this other type of. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
And so that particular band we're not doing, but so he was bringing it up, and he's like, I know that, I understand that, and I respected him a lot because everybody knows that we've had multiple suicides in our family, and so I'm obviously sensitive to that. So I had a ton of respect to him for bringing it up, and I said, well, make a case. And
As to why, yeah.
as to why we should. And I don't think he was talking about that particular, because he pieced together. He's pretty smart.
Yeah.
He pieced together
Who it was.
which band it was, and I'm still kind of, wrestling back and forth about even. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's probably something we're gonna have to really sit down and have like a 2 or 3 hour discussion with.
Yeah.
About,
Yeah. Where
Um,
are my good mints?
So, but anyway, it was just very interesting because I'm looking at this song and I'm like, this is completely different.
Yeah.
This I would take, even lyrically, it's bad and maybe it's dangerous to a kid in his closet by himself. But I think, at a show like this, I see this as healthy. I mean, he's singing the French, I'm assuming this is French, the French parts mean, to everyone, to all my friends, I love you, I have to leave.
What makes people think that the leave is suicide and not leaving the music industry?
The sleeping feel no more pain.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, to all my friends.
Yeah.
I'd love to stay with you all. Smile when you think of me. My body is gone, that's all. I mean, it's impossible not to look at that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Smile when you think, yeah.
So,
Well, that's interesting.
yeah, and smile when you think of me and things like that, which, I was just having a conversation about one of my family members with someone yesterday, and we were smiling, but there's always that sadness underneath it because, whatever they did that made you smile, you're never going to have it again.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking through, we've done Fade to Black, which also fell under similar criticism. You're promoting suicide. I just think, and look, by those standards, you gotta tear up your Bible because there's it was 2 Corinthians chapter 1. We despaired of, we were pushed beyond our strength so that we despaired even of life.
Yep.
Or David, you lay me in the dust of death. I mean, there is tons of literature. Curse the day that I was born.
Yep.
Job, curse the person who declared to my mother it's a boy. There's tons of literature in the Bible where people are talking about either ruining the day that they were born or wanting to be dead. Wanting, so, yeah. But then a whole genre that's dedicated to that concept, I'm not sure that...
Do you think there's some people that go through their entire life and never wish that they were dead?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's normal to wish that you were dead. I don't think that's... I think a lot of people...
I'm not saying that either your whole life you wish you were dead, but somebody who never even has that thought, not once.
Yes, I think millions of people have gone through life and never thought that once.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
And it's a, you know.
Old people.
Yeah. I think we've, you know, until certain circumstances. I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, I don't think that that's common for everybody. I don't think that that's common for everybody. But it's common for enough people to where any form of art at some level won't be legitimate unless there's some sort of acknowledgement of that to some degree. But as I was listening to the song, I was like, here we go. Then I was thinking about the conversation I just had with Damon Sage about it, and thinking through all the ramifications of it, and how is it similar and how is it different, because, you know, everybody knows, you know, I'm a nuanced thinker, and so there might be something that looks exactly the same, but when you really look at the nuance, they're completely different, at least in my mind. This song seems to be about expressing it, not celebrating it, and kind of everybody coming together around it, whereas the other stuff is more sinister to me.
Yeah, you could be right. It was very beautiful. Beautifully done.
Yeah.
I love the way that his voice sounded.
This is Dave Mustaine.
I know. It's weird, right?
Well, I just think that I gotta ask Alec about this, but I think that our brains are now acclimated and says this is Mustaine.
No, I didn't, because I didn't realize it was Mustaine. I don't know these things well enough. I feel like if I would have heard this version of his voice for the first time, I would have liked it.
Well, people were saying that later on in life he got better.
I think this was very good.
So I don't
know.
know.
Did very well at that French part too.
Maybe he's French.
Yeah.
Don't remember where I was when I realized life was a game. The more seriously I took things, the harder the rules became. I had no idea what it had cost. My life passed before my eyes. I found out how little I accomplished, all my plans denied.
It's so wild to have somebody like
mature writing here.
In a band. You know, like you've gotten to that point. Like most people, that's like their dream. Like, whoa, if I could be in a band.
Doesn't get much better than Megadeth.
You're in a band, and he looks back over his life, and he finds out how little he accomplished. Very interesting.
This was 94, which means, I mean, Megadeth started in the early 80s, so he's already a very well-established, very popular musician.
I think it's the same story as what we've been hearing from the other ones. It's just when they finally reach that goal, there's that emptiness that's inside of it, because it's not. It's that guy. He said our hearts are restless till they what?
Find their rest in you, Augustine.
Yeah.
That guy, Augustine. Yeah, he it is a very interesting pattern.
Yeah.
You know, where I was listening to McGraw with my brother yesterday, my little brother yesterday. We're doing McGraw, and there's that exercise in futility, part 6, and he says dreams don't come true for people like us. And I made the comment, it's ironic that his dream was to be a musician, and he's saying dreams don't come true. And so he was like, oh my God, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's like there are so many songs that are about accomplishing what you wanted and feeling like you've done nothing.
Yeah.
How little I've accomplished. You know, like he, regardless of what you think of the band Megadeth versus Metallica, it goes without speaking. Everybody across the board, he is like one of the greatest guitarists and songwriters with the guitar, with the instrument. Even the folks that are on Team Metallica versus Team Megadeth, even they have to kind of like, no, guitar, like he's an accomplished guitarist, but what do you mean how little you've accomplished?
Right, yeah.
And you gotta kind of figure out, and of course this is where there's a tiny utility in our worldview, but you gotta figure out how you're gonna define what actual accomplishment is. Like, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? What's the mark you're trying to leave in the world? How do you assign significance to something? And is it something that you're going to be able to assign significance to 10 years after it's done? Because there's nothing better for a human being than to have a goal that they can't accomplish. Because once you accomplish a goal, you feel like you haven't accomplished anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's that story with Alexander the Great where, you know, I don't know if it's a legend or whatever, but he came to this realization that there were no other places to conquer.
He cried in his room, right?
He cried in his little tent. You
Or
know,
that guy that said $1 more. Who was he?
Rockefeller, how much? $1 more, and then Tom Brady, and they were talking
Yep.
about after he won his first title, and that's the pinnacle of your existence. And
Yeah.
then what is it? And people like driving themselves crazy trying to figure out like what is all this stuff really about?
It's interesting because every sacrifice that I've ever made for somebody else, in another situation or when they're in a situation of need, or even if they weren't, but like anything that needed sacrifice, I never look back at that and think, man, I wasted that.
Yeah.
I'm always like, those are my greatest accomplishments.
Yeah.
Things done for other human beings.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And or investments in people.
Yeah.
Taking the time to invest in a person.
Yep.
And seeing them progress. I think for me, like, writing off a check, sure, you can do that, but like taking the time to slow down and talk to a person.
That's funny because I was literally just going to say the opposite.
The check
I was
thing
gonna say, no. Like spending the time with somebody, yeah, that means a lot to me too. But like when I look back over the checkbook, and I look at the money that like goes overseas to, pay for children to go to school and get food and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
Or and then I look at my drive-through Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks. I'm like, what a waste, because I don't have that drink anymore. But I never look at those Compassion
The kids.
International payments and say, whoa, what a waste. I'm always like, those are my. Yes, okay, good.
Yeah, they give you updates. I've been with little Lewis for 4 years now.
Yeah. I think it's longer than that. I think you had him years ago.
Yeah, that was when the whole, the LGBT thing happened with that other organization.
Yeah, that's right.
And they I forgot what they did. They were not funding. So people were like, oh, we need to pull out of funding this thing because they're supporting gay people or something like that. I'm like, so we're going to make these kids suffer because this other shit's going on. Like, are you out of your minds? Like, are you serious?
Literally.
So that whole controversy made me go, okay, I'm going to find. I was so angry. There's nothing I could do. And of course, we're surrounded by, So there's nothing I could do. So I was like, but it was cool because I said, I'm going to find the group that's giving the most percentage of the dollars to the whatever, and that's who we're going with. So and then when we found that one, we went with Lewis got selected because he was the oldest. And usually in those situations, they're in the most danger in Latin America because they're about to get scooped up by the gangsters. And B, the older they get, they're not as cute, whatever.
Yeah.
So they don't get, these young kids get scooped up, they get supported all the time.
Right.
So I said, okay, so we got that, and then I said, I'm going to find the oldest person. Or the kid that's been waiting on the list the longest. And sure enough, he'd been waiting by, he was old for the kids, and he had been waiting the next closest person was 400 days less than him, which is a year. Yeah.
I bet that does happen. The uglier the kid is, though. As terrible as that is.
Well, he was just older.
Yeah.
And then they were, there's this little 6-year-old little Felipe.
Yeah.
And he's beautiful.
Yeah. The little girl in her little...
Oh, for sure.
They put him in a little dress and take the picture.
I was like, well, those kids are going to get scooped up. I went and got little Lewis. And then Dorian writes him a letter. Hey, man, forget about school. It's a waste of time. Waste of time, he says.
It's a waste. The organization called us.
They called us. They're like...
You can't send letters like that.
You can't do that shit. Shout out to the big homie Lewis. We get a picture. We'll show you a picture of Lewis. But anyway,
we got a couple of them.
It's a point it's a point about what's
great. I gotta send the things so they can get their Christmas presents.
You gotta hurry up.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope.
But it's what have you really accomplished in life? So part of it is helping people. Part of it is I think it was not Philip. It was DeGrasse Tyson. I don't know what his first name is, but he was the most major advancements in physics or science or whatever have been discovered by 2 or 3 people. It's he's talking about, it was Einstein, Newton, Darwin. There's 3 people have completely changed the planet. It's just he's that's it, you know. And I'm sure, you know, folks in the scientific community have other things, but it's like, you know, there's some dude in a lab somewhere, you know, working 16 hours a day that's going to come up with some incredible shit that's going to cure cancer or something like that. He, you know, that guy, it's amazing, but he's off in a lab. Nobody knows who he is. You know, it's like...
I'm distracted right now because I remember hearing about now. I think we've talked about this before. In school, there was like this black guy that invented peanut butter. Like, of all the accomplishments that your people did, that's what you get credit for? Is
well, Stephen
Jiffy?
Nealis, our resident white supremacist, he's like, he's like, I said something about Akhenaten or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to say that Akhenaten was white.
Stop it! He didn't! No, please tell me he didn't do that.
Well, he did.
Oh.
I bet Hammurabi, I bet that guy was white too. But yeah, anyway, speaking of accomplishments, it's like you gotta set the bar. I've never really seen people though, like, that have sat down and been satisfied with their accomplishments. Like, have you ever really met somebody and they said, yep, I did that and that was great and I'm satisfied?
I've been very satisfied with some of my accomplishments.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Like what?
All that stuff that we were doing down there with homeless people. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
The trip that I took to Latvia.
Yeah.
You know, working with those, the gypsy kids and working with the orphanage and all that stuff. I'm very satisfied with all that stuff.
Because it perpetuated itself. We could still see the good that was done.
Yeah.
People are still pushing on and doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I don't even know what you're saying. I feel like lots of people are proud of their accomplishments.
I'm not talking about proud of their accomplishments.
What do you mean?
Satisfied? This to me is like he's looking back at his
life. Like if I never accomplished another thing in my life, would I be happy?
Yeah.
No, I want to do more.
But yeah,
I guess
how little I accomplished. I wouldn't. I don't think I would not say in my life I've accomplished
little. Yeah.
That for better or worse, you know. And then you think to yourself, like, if you walked around feeling that way, then you're like, okay, like why should I still be here? Because when he's talking about pain and suffering and things like that,
yeah,
and I've been saying this over in like the last couple of videos, like when you're going through pain and suffering, if you have an overarching meaning to your life that you're going towards, it makes a pain and suffering worth it. So if you're in serve torture in Coronado, you're like, well, I'm going for my trident, you know, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL, so that suffering is worth that goal. Or if you're in labor, you know, you're saying, yeah, but we're gonna have a kid at the end of this. But if you don't have a and it's just a black line, then I think once people lose that, that's it. Like, we're out. See ya. You gotta have an overarching substructure to kind of justify the pain that existence is.
Yeah.
You know, Jordan Peterson talks about the burden of existence. You gotta have something. Now, us, it's the way of Christ. You know, and it's bringing. You know, we've got a pretty big show. It's bringing about the new world. Like that's the story that we're caught up in.
Yeah.
And that justifies everything for us.
Yep.
You know, and then you've got this great tradition of, you know, redemptive suffering in Christianity. But if you don't have that, you don't have to be a Christian. But you got to figure that out.
Yeah. I don't know what that would be like to put all of your energy into something and come to the end of it and say, I really don't have anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there's that line in Isaiah where Jesus says, I've spent my strength in vain.
Right.
And then God comes to him and says, no, not only am I going to make you a light for the remnant of Israel, I'm going to make you a light to the Gentiles so that my salvation will reach the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you know, again, there's a bigger mission here.
Yep.
But if you don't have that, then
right.
I think you're in a dangerous place.
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous not to do that, not to have that. And of course, in the irony, anytime an artist bemoans the lack of accomplishment and purpose in a song that is significant to millions of people,
I know.
He's accomplishing something very, very purposeful.
Yeah. I wonder if it makes the listeners feel like less like you accomplishing your band and your music. Say you haven't accomplished anything. Man, I really must be a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Well,
it doesn't seem like that's how the people respond to it. It makes it feel.
Yeah, I don't think that people do that. I think that they familiarize themselves so much with the artist, especially if you've been following an artist for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So with Korn, when I was listening to Korn, I never said, "Oh, he's a millionaire, so why is he singing "Got the Life"? I'm like, he's got his set of miseries, and so do I. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, but what is interesting though is that the artist is doing something amazing and accomplishing something amazing, mm-hmm. and it's full of purpose, but he doesn't realize it because he can't step outside of the meta narrative and look at it where he is.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are like that. I think a lot of people are accomplishing amazing things that are very significant and purposeful, but they don't see it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, oh, I'm just a mother, or I'm just a dad, or I'm just a person who loves a person with bipolar disorder.
Right.
Or I'm just a person with bipolar disorder who's just surviving. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't see that as like an accomplishment and purposeful. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Having to contend with that type of illness and kicking the crap out of that thing and finding ways to live every single day and not just survive but contribute the little that you can, that's huge.
Yeah.
Loving a person in that situation is a very thankless act of heroism that's full of purpose and meaning, and not a lot of people recognize it. Huge. You know, so it's like, if we could step outside and get really meta about this thing, like, he is doing something purposeful and doesn't know it.
Yeah.
And I think that most of the people that we run into or watch the channel who don't think that they're purposeful about their life or that they're not doing anything significant are probably, when this is all over and everybody gets to look back at what we all did in this generation of time that we had, did some really significant things. You know? So I think we just like need to kind of like pull back a little bit and be like, well, wait a second.
Yeah, because you'll see different, like, you know, like sometimes Tina will post like this meal. She'll do like ladies' night. She'll cook for the ladies in her neighborhood and stuff like that. Like,
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
My brother was here during the announcement yesterday, and he's like, "Man, you got a lot of love here, you know." And there's and of course, people don't know our story. You know, like how we got here and all the rest of it, but it's important.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's a lot of things you guys don't know. So the friendships and the texts and the, you know, the emails and the I love you guys and the I disagree with you but I still love you. Like, people don't, you know.
Yeah.
They don't realize, you know. So yeah, I think the point of the story is that you shouldn't leave, and you shouldn't leave your body until God takes your body. Because you're accomplishing things that are very purposeful that you won't know until it's time for you to know. So, so there's that. What do you give the song?
A 9. I loved it.
This is a 9.8 for me.
I'll do that. You know, I gave it a 9 and not a little bit higher because I didn't like it that the crowd sang. I wanted to hear him. I didn't want to hear the crowd.
Well, it's interesting. It's a 9.8 for me because of the crowd and because of the way that he was able to use the words and the music in a way to bring everybody together. I really appreciated that. I love that, and I think that was great.
I think it's worth a 9.8. I'll give it a 9.8. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So good stuff.
I got messages coming on my phone, and Vin's getting distracted.
Well, it's like I just saw somebody on your phone that I haven't seen in quite some time. All right, guys. Very good. Good song. Whoever suggested this, thank you. We haven't done Megadeth in almost a month.
I know, yeah.
So, inshallah, this will have an influx of Megadeth requests, and we can do some stuff. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
See if you recognize this song. Don't remember where I was. I life was a game. The more serious they are to think.